afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of On the Clock with Personal Living. I'm David, and I'm with Personal Living Alert, and we are here today to talk about networking and how networking has changed in the day of COVID and where we think networking is going to go. And to help me, I've got two of my favorite ladies. I have Robin Cohen with BCOA and Knyvett Lee with ESRN. So what we'll do is, Robin, if you can go first, tell us a little bit about BCOA and what it is. I know you're the VP of Leadership, but what is BCOA?
Well, BCOA stands for Broward Coalition on Aging, and it assists Broward County's aging population through education, resources, and grants support by providing networking, training, and referral opportunities for professionals serving seniors. Also, BCOA functions as a common meeting ground for professionals and community members interested in assisting the aging population, and also assists seniors through its community projects, including the Cheryl Wilson Memorial Fund, Scholarship and Wings of Angels Awards, Triad, and more.
That's pretty awesome. Now, Knyvett, how about ESRN? Tell us a little bit about that. I know you're the president of ESRN, and just so everybody knows, I am on the board of ESRN, and I used to be on the board of BCOA. So again, Knyvett, what's ESRN?
ESRN is the Elder Services Resource Network, and it was formed after BCOA, but about the same era, so 90s, in the 1990s. And it is a networking group. The mission of ESRN is to enhance and improve the lives of seniors in South Florida by identifying and linking resources through the networking of dedicated professionals and organizational philanthropy. We're not as old as BCOA. We don't have as many defined programs, but we do have a philanthropic arm. So we collect, we fundraise, and then we distribute it out in small grants to local nonprofits that are serving elder or providing elder services. And it's a networking group. And right now it's a very interesting networking group with all the challenges.
Well, that's actually like a perfect segue, because I was curious about how, 3 months ago, we were all able to go to an assisted living facility where everybody holds their meetings and network. So how has it changed? I mean, what are we doing now? And Robin, you can go first on that if you want.
What are we doing? We're Zooming is what we're doing. I think, well, thank goodness for whoever came up with Zoom, because it's been amazing and it's been the best way to keep connected with the people that you have been able to in the past see face to face. So although you're seeing their faces on a screen, at least you're seeing them. And I think it's also, we all have to think outside the box. I mean, I do business development for my company, so I'd be on the road most of the week and meeting people in their offices, and whether it's doctors or hospitals or so forth. And now I have to think about ways of reaching out to them where I can't personally be there face to face, but yet they remember us. They, think of us when they have patients to refer to us. So, but again, it's the Zoom meetings that have been our saviors, I think.
I agree. The Zoom way of life is definitely an interesting thing. We're all trying to get up to speed on it. Some of us are faster than others. I actually have a cheat sheet of things to remember to do, including, raise my laptop up so I've got a better angle of the camera, and to make sure, pay attention to whether I'm on mute or not. When it comes to running meetings, there's some underlying components that you can structure so that the meeting is faster, slower, more controlled, less controlled. And I think that's what most of us that are running organizations to replace the in-person meeting, trying to manage to be able to still engender networking, which is very difficult when you're one of 50 people on a screen, and at the same time control the meeting so it doesn't So you don't have 50 people out talking at once.
I couldn't agree more. I mean,
I'd just like to,
yeah, well, I was going to say, most of the time I do these on the clocks and it's only one person. So now it's interesting with 3 people on here. I have to make a point to sometimes point out who is I want to ask a question to and things like that. So running a meeting, I've been on these 50-person meetings and they're not easy. What were you going to say, Robin?
I was going to say that it's funny because I attended an ESRN meeting when I was in between jobs. I'd been laid off and I was in the home care industry, and the then president invited me to a meeting, and it was at that meeting that I was able to introduce myself and see other people and hear who's in the crowd, and able to connect with somebody after the meeting who ultimately put me in touch with the owner of my company, and hence that's why I'm here for the last 2 years. So yes, even though the Zoom calls are great, you've got a limited amount of time. You can't be doing your networking as you normally do before a meeting or after a meeting in person. So there are going to be some limitations, and usually on these Zoom calls, I mean, we were on a call earlier today, there was, I don't know, 50 some odd people. So you have to go really quick. So you can't say, hey, I'm looking for a job. This is what I do. Anybody out there who can help me? So, I think we all will look forward to the day we can get back to being in front of people face to face.
Well, that actually is a perfect segue to what I wanted to ask is, what is the future of networking, especially for both of your organizations? We would meet at an assisted living facility. I don't know if that's going to happen for the next 8 to 12 months, if not longer. So what do you think the future of networking is? Where are we going to meet? How are we going to do it?
I think personally we're going to have to learn how to work within the Zoom environment. But I think what the important thing is, as the president of ESRN, and David, as you know, we just had our annual retreat via Zoom, 4-hour retreat with 13 board members for 4 hours. And a lot of the discussion there was, how are we going to accomplish the networking within the constraints of Zoom? And again, it's just like running any organization. You really have to set the tone for it. And what we'll be focusing on is, well, yes, we'll continue to have those meetings of 50 or more people, but we're going to do our best to try and encourage one-on-one follow-up meetings. For instance, one of the things that I noticed on one of the meetings that I was attending is that they limited in Zoom, so only the person who was running the meeting could communicate using the chat. You could only, in other words, you could only go ahead and type a chat either to everybody or just to the person who's running the meeting. And I think that really, if you're a networking group, you have to allow people to be able to go ahead and independently chat amongst themselves. So when I was at a recent, I think it was the BCOA meeting, and I wanted to chat with somebody who hadn't seen in 2 years to say, hey, I'm so happy that, you're at this meeting, and I wasn't able to. So, you have to look at some of the technicalities of what Zoom does have and doesn't have, and use those that maybe you didn't in a person-to-person meeting. You wouldn't be able to just get up from your seat, walk over, and give somebody a hug during the middle of the meeting,
I remember that retreat meeting, and I remember there was one board member who was curious about when the happy hour was starting. That's all I really, one of those things I remember a lot, so that's all. So,
I think that person was in your office, David.
Maybe, Robin, is BCOA, are you running into the same things with able to call it crowd control, for lack of a better word?
I think we had about 40 people on our call last week. And yeah, like like Knyvett said, there was a restriction, and it's something I can address with the president, because I do see that there is a need for people to be able to chat. And maybe one of the other things is, because I know you can, I guess, copy the chat, and maybe if people are looking for jobs, they may be able to put their information out there that can then be emailed to all the people who were registered for the call. So at least they can look at the notes and say, oh yes, this person is looking for a job in this particular industry. There's, especially this time with, I can't imagine looking for a job right now. It's got to be the most difficult and challenging thing ever, because we're not doing face-to-face interviews here, and hopefully we'll start slowly, but I'm sure a lot of people aren't doing that. So I guess it could start with the Zoom call before anything happens. But the challenges are real, and it's in my company, we've not missed a beat, just because of the nature of home care. We have to be there all the time for our patients. So we have been working without a break. It just continued in the office, and of course all of our field people. But not everybody was that lucky to be able to do that. And my heart goes out to people who have had businesses that just totally shut down for the last few months, and not sure if they're going to open, or if they're opening, how they're going to recoup all that loss.
I agree. I know we touched a little bit about the in-person aspect of networking. And for me, I really need that in-person, because it's almost like a warm introduction as opposed to a cold call, right? And this way you get to, you get your 10 minutes beforehand, half hour before the meetings, sometime after the meetings. With that not being there, I mean, we've all been on these Zoom networking things. You have 50 people, 10 of them are looking at their computer, answering emails and things like that. Other people are doing other things. Do you think the engagement makes it so networking is as useful as it once was? I mean, because I don't know if everybody's always engaged every single time. You can go first, Robin. Go ahead.
Well, I agree with you, and
go ahead, Knyvett. You were going. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I agree with you, and I myself have gone ahead and done work during a Zoom call. I think in some ways it's not different. Whenever I was running an ESRN meeting, I could look around the room and I would see at least a third of the people attending had their phones in their hands and were looking at their phones. So I don't think that engagement changed. It has changed a little bit, but I still think that the same people that are paying attention regardless of whether they're via Zoom or in an in-person meeting. I agree with you about, the warm connectivity of being in person. One of the things that ESRN is looking at now is to possibly set up breakout sessions, actually based on interest. So perhaps you have a breakout session with people that are looking for work and people that are looking to hire. And then perhaps another breakout session with people that are trying to understand how to navigate through all of the resources or lack thereof during the COVID-19 pandemic. So there are mechanisms to be able to try and meet the needs of your members at the same time as keeping them engaged.
Robin, I was curious.
I just feel that. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. See, this is the one.
No, I was just going to hop on that.
Go ahead.
It's a delay. It's okay. We're among friends.
That's it.
No, I was just going to say that, yes, because, it's funny. Part of what I do, besides what I do for my business, is just trying to convey information to people who need it, whether it be people in my office or people that I meet. And there was somebody that I had met that I knew she was new to the area and looking for work. And I made sure I forwarded her, all of the networking information I had, all the meetings that were being held. And this was when we could still go to live meetings. And she wound up meeting, actually it was Becky who's now working with Candy. So it was nice to be able to make that connection. And it may not have been able to happen had it not been a live meeting, if it had been a Zoom call. I don't know. I mean, how would that even come about? So definitely there's a value to it.
So Rob, let me ask you another question. For BCOA, the ability to attract new members and retain existing members, are you guys running into any challenges with that? Because now we're in the Zoom world and we may be in the Zoom world for a while?
I don't know about that. I've had, again, like I'm saying, I let people know about certain networking groups, and I think we've gotten, some recent interest with people that I've met on Zoom calls and other networking groups. And sometimes they're a lot smaller, and being able to get them into ESRN, be it BCOA and other groups. We have a new membership, VP of membership, and he's doing a really good job of bringing in new people too, and turning guests into members. So I think people are looking at ways how they can connect with people during these times. So maybe it will increase membership. And I know the membership fees for ESRN and BCOA are very reasonable for an annual membership, and it's well worth the money to be part of these groups.
Knyvett?
So ESRN, as I said, we fundraise and then we give our money back into the community. And we recognize that we will and already are running into challenges as far as guest fees and membership fees. So it's hard to justify a guest fee to a Zoom meeting as opposed to when you're coming in to a community. Generally speaking, it includes food and coffee and the camaraderie of being able to interface with other individuals. So we have actually we haven't suspended our membership dues, but if somebody doesn't have the funds to join or to rejoin right now, we're not necessarily holding their feet to the fire. We're also not necessarily doing our typical fundraising. Right now, we would be in a fundraising for a local food bank, and we've determined instead that we're just going to make a donation to some local food banks and other charities that support far more extensive need now in our community than there was even 3 or 4 months ago. But we're going to have to fill the coffers back up at some point in time. And I'm not exactly sure who's going to pony up money for just attending a Zoom call. Maybe, but I think it's going to be a challenge. I'm not quite as optimistic as you, Robin.
I would agree. I think it's going to be
it's funny because
challenge, because I definitely think, while it's not a lot of money, right? $50, $100 for the year. It depends, on what the member wants to get out of it. I mean, if they're looking, they're looking at it as like a donation to the nonprofit, the association to better other people. Sure, that's one thing. But if you're looking to actually meet people and get a return on your investment in the actual networking, I think it could be a totally different story too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had a meeting this morning, and they were charging a fee to join if you weren't a member. And I questioned that. I'm like, I can understand if we were in person and we were at lunch and all of that, but I can't quite understand, nobody else is charging a fee to join a Zoom call. So I was a little taken back by it. And
well, it's also because people nowadays, there's a lot of people out there that are trying to figure out how to put food on the table. And so that's why we're not necessarily saying you don't owe your dues, but we are saying if it's a hardship, we're not going to kick you out and stop sending you, because we send out a weekly email with information to all, not necessarily to just members, but to the contacts we have in our database, members and past members. There has been discussion about whether we would limit that just to members or not. And right now, we're not doing any sort of limitation whatsoever.
I know
If you're doing continuing education, that's a different story, I think, because everybody still needs continuing education to be able to maintain their credentialing.
Yeah, I agree.
Right.
I mean, I get both. I think ESRN and BCOA are fantastic about keeping people in the loop. As far as your email communication, your newsletters are concerned. I am part of a lot of other networking groups, and I do a lot of networking on the West Coast of the state. And what some of them have done is, instead of having 50 people at a time, they break it on up into 3 or 4 small groups. So you get, say, 10 people in one meeting at a certain time, and then it's like ESRN 1, then ESRN 2, 3, 4, until you get everybody in. And I think they feel it's a little more manageable. There's a little more interaction because you don't have to mute everybody. Everybody's not talking over themselves. You don't have 50 people, you only have 10. But you got to figure out what works for each organization. They're all different. So
I'm sure Knyvett doesn't want to do 10 different meetings.
you guys could put somebody in charge of each one. I mean, you got 13 board members for ESRN, right? So everybody could take a session.
It's true. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. I do know that I've never had a problem with getting ready for an ESRN meeting, whether it's a board meeting or a general meeting. I've always looked forward to it. Since the pandemic, it has been a little more challenging to garner up that energy that goes along with trying to make a really fun and engaging 1 to 2 hours for people.
No doubt. So here's my next question. A little levity. When are you guys ready to, I know my wife, she's jonesing to get her nails done, right? I mean, she just can't wait. I don't think she's going to go. So when are you guys going to go out and start living your lives? When will you be comfortable going to dinner, going to nail salons? Are you ready to go, Robin? Or are you still like, a little standoffish?
Well, it's funny because yesterday I had to go to Publix, which is next to my nail salon, and I peeked in there, walked in just to see what they did, because they just recently opened, and they do have the partitions, the plexiglass partitions, and the owner said, if you want, you can wear one of those shields. I don't know if they charge you for it or whatever. They don't, then I hope that they make sure they disinfect them well in between customers. I am so excited because I'm going to be seeing my grandsons tonight on the West Coast, and I haven't seen them in 3 months. I am of no interest in going to a restaurant. My nails look like crap, and I'm kind of getting used to them, and they're growing. And I haven't obviously had a haircut in a long time. I am really taking it slow and easy. I've had friends over one at a time for dinner. We'll sit at my dining room table 6 feet apart. We'll sit on opposite ends of my living room. I'm fine with that. I know what I do to keep myself safe. I don't always know what the next person is doing. So to me, I'm just going to ease into it. I'm not going to go to any crowds or beaches or restaurants at this point.
I'm with you, Robin. I was on the phone with a girlfriend today, and she said, "Are you ready to come on down for a glass of wine?" And I said, "Yeah. What about tomorrow?" And she goes, "Actually, we're going out to dinner." I thought, wow. But they're going to a restaurant that has an open area. But I'm with you, Robin. I was thinking this morning about I haven't seen my son, who's in Gainesville, since Thanksgiving. And, maybe we should take a drive up there. It's his birthday this weekend. But then trying to figure out where we would stay was, okay, Airbnb, probably not. Hotel, maybe if it was a high end. And then I thought all the hotel chains are, they're all chains now. So I don't necessarily know how comfortable I am with that. We have had friends over for dinner. I am moving back into my now extremely renovated home in the next month. And I had plans to have 2 or 3 sort of open house parties to our neighbors for putting up with the renovation, to the people that helped to do the renovation. And now I have no idea. When am I ever going to be able to entertain in this beautiful home that I built specifically for entertaining?
And I want that invitation too, of course.
Especially ESRN board members should be a given, right? But
yeah,
of course.
No question. There was no question that ESRN was going to have its own open house meeting. So I don't know.
I will tell you, Fabian and I are in the same boat. You know, we have zero desire to go out. You know, I think we may be on a little extreme in the fact that we have a station when you walk in the house. Take your shoes off. You have a pair of those flip-flops to put on. You got to desanitize your sanitizer. There's Lysol spray down there. You got to do everything before you even come up the stairs. You know, and you know, I don't think we're going out to dinner in a long time, or anything. The only thing that was interesting to me is some of the drive-in movies, because then at least you can sit in your own car. You can bring your own food. All you got to do is turn on the radio and you can watch a movie. That has a little intrigue to me, but I think that's about it as far as going out is concerned. So I heard recently on
the radio somebody talking about that they were open about some of these opportunities to go out, but right up until when you had to discuss, would you use the bathroom?
Exactly.
I think that's sort of the stopping point there.
And I've got 4 kids in the food service industry, so we talk about that all the time. I got 2 up in Jacksonville and 2 down here, and one restaurant actually has not a person inside, but somebody outside, and supposedly they're saying every time somebody goes in, when they come out, this person goes in and cleans it down. I haven't been there. I don't know, but that's what they're telling me.
I know my trip to the West Coast is Alligator Alley, and sometimes I have to stop along the way, and I'm thinking, I don't know about that. Well, make sure I hold it in.
Robin, the good news is those restaurants just opened up. They were closed for the last 2 months. They're just open, and I will tell you, by looking out my window,
so they're good.
It is raining out, so just drive safely.
I know it's pouring. It's pouring in the West. It's going to be a very rainy Memorial weekend, I'm afraid, but I'm going to be with my grandkids. Doesn't get better than that.
So we could talk all day, and I truly appreciate both of your times. But I do want to ask Robin first, if somebody wanted to get in touch with BCOA just to get a little bit more information, how would they do that?
Well, I guess they could contact either Marcia Pink, who is the president, or they can contact me. Our website is in the midst of being redone right now, so they can call me at my cell number is 954-614-4286, and I'd be happy to give them any information that they want about BCOA.
What's that website? I know it's not up yet, but let them have it.
I believe it's bcoafl.org.
Okay.
But again, it's not operational right now.
All right. How about for ESRN, Knyvett?
So ESRN is definitely operational for its website. I was actually making some revisions to it last weekend. It's esrn.org. And if you go in there, you can actually create a login and you can put your name in there. You can join and you'll immediately start receiving our weekly ESRN newsletter, which comes out early Monday morning. And it does have a tremendous amount of resources, many regarding COVID-19 resources, as well as we used to have it chock full of events. Now the events are sort of more like Zoom meetings, but it's a nice way to stay in touch and to know what's going on in our community.
Perfect.
Mhm.
I just want to again say thank you both for being on. I truly appreciate it. Robin, enjoy your grandkids. Have a safe trip
Thank
down
you.
Alligator Alley. Knyvett,
Thank
enjoy your
you.
Memorial Day weekend, and I look forward to seeing you both soon. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank you
guys.
so much, David.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a nice weekend.
You too.
You too.
Thanks.